The coldness of the air was the first thing she felt, a sharp contrast to the warmth of her last memory. Evelyn opened her eyes slowly, her vision blurry, and a soft hum surrounded her. The ceiling above her was smooth, metallic, and unfamiliar. She was lying on a hard surface, her body feeling heavy and restrained. As her senses returned, she realized she wasn't alone. Her hands were bound at her sides, metallic cuffs digging into her skin. Panic surged through her veins, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had always been strong, always in control. But now, she was at their mercy, and she didn't even know who they were. As her vision cleared, she saw them. Tall, sleek figures standing at the edges of the room. They were watching her. Alien. Their skin was a strange, pale hue that shimmered slightly under the dim lights. Their eyes, large and dark, betrayed no emotion, yet their gaze held a strange intensity. "You are awake," one of them said, stepping forward. Its voice was calm, almost soothing, but the alien nature of the sound sent a shiver down Evelyn's spine. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry, her voice barely a whisper. "Where am I?" The figure ignored her question. Instead, it gestured to the others, who began to move toward her. Their movements were fluid, graceful, almost mesmerizing, but there was no denying the threat in the way they surrounded her. "You are special," the first figure continued. "Your kind possesses qualities we have long sought. You will be the key." Evelyn's mind raced. The key to what? She tugged at the restraints, but they held firm. Her heart pounded in her chest, fear gnawing at her insides. What did they want with her? "Let me go," she managed to croak, her voice stronger this time. But they didn't listen. Instead, one of the aliens moved closer, its fingers long and slender reaching out to touch her face. She flinched at the contact, but the touch was gentle, almost tender. The alien's gaze softened slightly, and for a brief moment, Evelyn saw something unexpected in its eyes. Admiration. "You will help us achieve perfection," the alien whispered, its voice barely audible. "You are the key to a new beginning." Before she could respond, something sharp pricked her arm. She gasped as a wave of dizziness overtook her. Her vision blurred once more, and the last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was the alien's face, watching her with an intensity that sent a strange mixture of fear and curiosity coursing through her. When Evelyn regained consciousness, the air around her felt different, warmer, but heavy, as though it pulsed with an invisible energy. She blinked slowly, her body sluggish as she struggled to sit up. The metallic restraints were gone, replaced by something softer, but she was still tethered. Her arms and legs felt heavy, as if the very air weighed them down. The room was dimly lit, filled with alien machinery, strange, smooth surfaces that hummed with life. Tubes and wires snaked their way from the walls, some of them connected to her body, pumping a cold, unknown substance into her veins. Her heart raced, panic clawing its way to the surface as she yanked at the tubes, but they wouldn't budge. "You are awake again," the same voice from before said. The alien figure stood at the edge of the room, watching her, its gaze unreadable but calm. There was something different about its presence this time, something more intimate, more personal. "What are you doing to me?" Evelyn demanded, her voice hoarse. She tried to sit up, but her muscles ached, resisting her every movement. The alien approached her, its long, graceful form almost floating as it moved. Its skin shimmered in the dim light, catching her attention in an almost hypnotic way. There was something about its gaze that made her feel vulnerable, exposed in a way she had never felt before. "We are preparing you," it said softly, the same calm tone. "Your body must be ready." "Ready for what?" she asked, her breath shallow. Fear and anger battled within her, but there was another emotion lurking beneath the surface, one she couldn't name. "To transcend," the alien answered, its gaze never leaving her. "To become something more than human." Evelyn's mind raced. They were changing her, altering her very essence. Her body, once familiar, now felt foreign. She could feel something shifting inside her, something beyond her control. It terrified her, but there was also a strange pull, a curiosity, a need to understand what was happening to her. The alien moved closer, its presence overwhelming in the confined space. Its fingers, long and delicate, hovered just above her skin, not quite touching but close enough to send a shiver down her spine. "We are merging your kind with ours," it continued, its voice low, almost intimate. "Together, we will create something new, something perfect." Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest. Merging? She wanted to resist, to fight back, but her body was weak, her mind clouded by the strange sensations coursing through her. The alien's presence felt almost comforting. But she knew she couldn't trust it. "I don't want this," she whispered, her voice trembling. But even as she said the words, a part of her wondered what would she become? What would they turn her into? The alien's fingers brushed against her skin, light and delicate, sending a surge of warmth through her. It was a touch unlike any she had ever felt before, both gentle and powerful, as though it held the promise of something more. "You will see," it whispered, its breath warm against her ear. "Soon, you will understand." Evelyn closed her eyes as the warmth spread through her, enveloping her in a strange, almost seductive comfort. Her fear still lingered, but it was drowned out by the growing sensation of something else, something new, something powerful. And then, the darkness claimed her once again. When Evelyn awoke again, the world around her had changed. The air felt different, lighter, more vibrant, as if it carried energy she could almost feel on her skin. She sat up slowly, her limbs no longer heavy. The tubes and wires that had once tethered her to the alien machinery were gone, leaving only faint marks on her skin. Her body felt different. Stronger. More alive. She looked down at her hands, expecting to see the familiar curve of her fingers, but her skin now shimmered with a faint metallic sheen, reflecting the soft, ethereal light that filled the room. Her breath caught in her throat as she ran her fingers over her arm, feeling the smooth, cool texture of her transformed skin. She wasn't fully human anymore. The door to the chamber slid open, and one of the aliens entered, its presence no longer as foreign or frightening as before. In fact, there was something almost familiar about it now, as if she could sense its thoughts, feel its emotions. It approached her slowly, its gaze locked on hers, and for the first time, she saw something new in its eyes: admiration. "You have completed the transformation," it said, its voice soft and reverent. "You are the first of a new kind. Stronger, more resilient, and more beautiful than either species alone." Evelyn stood, her movements graceful, effortless. Her body no longer felt foreign to her, it felt like it was meant to be this way, as though she had finally become what she was always meant to be. The alien's gaze followed her, lingering on her form with an intensity that sent a strange thrill through her. "Is this what you wanted?" Evelyn asked, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "To turn me into one of you?" The alien stepped closer, its eyes never leaving hers. "You are not one of us. You are something more. A bridge between our worlds. You will lead us into a new era." A new era. Evelyn's mind raced with the implications of what they had done to her. She had been transformed, not just physically, but in ways she couldn't yet fully understand. She could feel the connection between her and the alien in front of her, an unspoken bond that hadn't been there before. "You will lead the new race," the alien continued, its voice almost reverent. "You will unite our species." Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest. A new race. She had become the foundation of something unprecedented, a fusion of humanity and alien biology. She could feel it in her very bones, the power coursing through her veins, the potential that lay within her. But there was more. Something deeper. She turned to face the alien, her pulse quickening as its gaze bore into hers. There was a strange tension between them now, something electric that hummed in the air. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on the alien's, searching for answers, for something tangible in this strange new reality. "I never asked for this," she said, her voice low. "But I will not be your puppet." The alien's eyes flickered, a hint of something deeper passing through them. It reached out, its fingers brushing against her arm, this time not with the cold detachment of a scientist, but with something that felt almost intimate. "You are not our puppet," it whispered. "You are our queen." The words sent a shiver down Evelyn's spine, and for a moment, the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken possibility. She could feel the weight of the alien's admiration, the way its gaze lingered on her, not just as a subject of experimentation, but as something more. Something powerful. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with the implications of what was unfolding. She had been transformed against her will, turned into something beyond human, but now she stood at the precipice of a new beginning. A new race. A new world. And she would be the one to lead it. The tension in the air was palpable. Evelyn could feel it, as if the very atmosphere vibrated with the anticipation of what was to come. The corridors of the alien stronghold were filled with hushed whispers, a silent unease settling over everyone. The new race, the hybrids, had begun to grow in number. But so had the fear. Both the alien leadership and the humans who had gotten wind of their existence saw the hybrids as a threat. "They won't accept us," one of the hybrids said, his voice low but strained. He was younger, his metallic skin still faint, not fully transformed like Evelyn. "Neither side wants us." Evelyn stood in the center of the room, surrounded by a group of hybrids. Their faces, some still more human, others beginning to show the distinct features of their alien heritage, looked to her for guidance. They were strong, faster, smarter than either species alone. Yet they were seen as abominations by both. "They fear what they don't understand," Evelyn said, her voice calm but resolute. "But fear doesn't change who we are." "We're going to have to fight," another hybrid said, his gaze hard. "The aliens are already mobilizing. They want to wipe us out before we become a problem." Evelyn clenched her fists, her pulse quickening. She had known this moment would come. The aliens who had created her, the same ones who had looked upon her with admiration, were now preparing to destroy what they had built. She could feel it in the air, the growing unrest among their ranks. They feared the power of the new race, the power she now represented. "We're not here to start a war," Evelyn said, her eyes scanning the room. "But we will defend ourselves. We won't let them erase us." The hybrids nodded, their expressions hardening with determination. They were ready. They had been preparing for this, training in secret, waiting for the inevitable conflict. And now, it was upon them. As they moved to the central hall, the walls hummed with the energy of alien machinery. Outside, the sky was a deep shade of purple, clouds swirling ominously above the alien fortress. The tension built with each passing second, the air thick with the promise of violence. Evelyn felt a presence beside her, and turned to see the alien who had first overseen her transformation. Its tall, sleek form moved silently next to her, its eyes dark and unreadable. "You knew this would happen," she said, her voice steady but laced with accusation. "You knew they would turn on us." The alien regarded her for a moment, its expression inscrutable. "The others do not see as I do. They fear what they cannot control." "And you don't?" Evelyn asked, her eyes narrowing. There was still the tension between them, the unspoken bond that had formed since her transformation. She could feel it in the way the alien looked at her, not just as a creation, but as something more. "I see you for what you are," it replied, its voice soft, almost reverent. "You are the future. The others, they cannot accept that." Before Evelyn could respond, the alarms blared. The sound echoed through the fortress, a sharp, piercing wail that sent the hybrids into motion. The attack had begun. The alien forces moved swiftly, descending upon the hybrids with military precision. Energy weapons flashed in the dim light, the air filled with the sound of battle. But the hybrids were ready. Faster, stronger, and more agile than their creators, they fought back with a fury that left no doubt they would not go quietly. Evelyn moved through the chaos, her body a blur of motion. She had been changed, transformed into something beyond human, and now that power surged through her veins. She fought with a grace and strength that left the alien soldiers reeling, her every move calculated, precise. But even as she fought, her mind raced. This was not how it was supposed to be. She had been created to unite these worlds, to bridge the gap between species. And yet, here they were, tearing each other apart. As the battle raged on, Evelyn found herself face to face with one of the alien leaders. Its eyes were cold, filled with the fear and hatred that had driven them to this point. It raised its weapon, ready to strike her down. But before it could, the alien who had been by her side intervened, knocking the leader's weapon away. The two aliens stared at each other for a long, tense moment, and then the leader turned and fled into the chaos. "They will not stop," the alien beside her said, its voice quiet amidst the noise of battle. "They will not rest until we are all destroyed." Evelyn nodded, her heart heavy. "Then we make them stop." With renewed determination, she pressed forward, leading the hybrids in their fight for survival. This was their war now, a war not of their choosing, but one they would win. The battlefield lay in ruin. Smoke and ash filled the air, and the once pristine alien structures now stood broken, their walls scarred by the relentless battle. Bodies of both aliens and hybrids littered the ground, a stark reminder of the cost of survival. Evelyn stood amidst the chaos, her chest heaving as she surveyed the aftermath of the fight. The hybrid forces, though victorious, had suffered great losses. Around her, the remaining hybrids gathered, their faces marked by exhaustion and sorrow. They had fought for their lives, but the war had cost them dearly. Evelyn's heart ached for them, for the future they had been promised, now uncertain once again. The alien who had stood beside her throughout the battle approached, its gaze steady. Despite the destruction around them, there was something resolute in its eyes. "This is not the end," it said quietly, its voice a soft whisper amidst the silence of the aftermath. Evelyn turned to face it, her mind swirling with thoughts of what had been lost and what remained. "No," she agreed. "But it's close." The hybrid forces had held off the alien attack, but the threat remained. The aliens, though scattered for now, would regroup. And the humans, ignorant of the true nature of the hybrids, would no doubt view them as a threat if they ever learned the truth. Evelyn knew what needed to be done, but the weight of the decision pressed heavily on her. She had been transformed into something more than human, something that carried the weight of both worlds. The hybrids had looked to her as their leader, their guide. But now, the future of her people and the two species they had been born from rested on her shoulders. The alien stepped closer, its presence calm, grounding amidst the uncertainty. "You are the key," it reminded her. "You always have been." Evelyn met its gaze, the connection between them undeniable. It had been there from the beginning, that pull, that strange bond that had grown stronger with each passing day. It wasn't just admiration she saw in its eyes, it was something deeper. "You want me to lead," Evelyn said softly. "But how can I lead when the path ahead is so uncertain?" The alien regarded her for a long moment before speaking. "The path is never certain. But you have the power to forge a new one." Evelyn took a deep breath, the enormity of the choice before her settling in. She could continue the fight, rally the hybrids, and wage a war that could tear both species apart. Or she could take another path, a path of unity, of peace. But that path required sacrifice. "I won't let them destroy us," Evelyn said, her voice stronger now. "But I won't let this war destroy everything we could become either." She turned to face the hybrids, her people, who had fought so hard to survive. Their faces were marked by pain and loss, but there was also hope in their eyes, hope that Evelyn could lead them into something better. "We stand on the edge of something new," she said, her voice carrying over the battlefield. "We were born from conflict, but we don't have to live in it. We have the power to change what we are. To change everything." The hybrids looked to her, their expressions a mix of determination and trust. They believed in her, believed that she could lead them to a future where they didn't have to fight for their right to exist. Evelyn turned to the alien at her side, the one who had stood by her, who had seen her for what she truly was. "Will they ever accept us?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The alien's gaze softened. "They will, if you show them the way." Evelyn nodded, a sense of calm settling over her. She knew what she had to do. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but she would lead them not with fear, not with war, but with hope. The hybrids gathered around her, ready to follow her into whatever came next. She took a deep breath, her heart steady now. She had been transformed against her will, but now, she would shape her own future and the future of those who had been born with her. And as the sun began to rise over the war-torn landscape, Evelyn knew that this was only the beginning.